Hello, I'm Luke. So I thought I'll make one last video. Um, I don't know if it's like my last video or if I'll come back at some point and make more videos because it is a good hobby to make videos. I thought I would like to make a pretty coherent video, um, sort of not exactly about the things I know. I'll talk about one thing that I know, but I just want to talk about something. So, if you looked at my channel, you might have noticed a lot of the times I talk about space aliens. I talk about space aliens a lot. So, I think it's I've mentioned before that I like the X Files. Um, I was just sort of thinking I was just no, I was sort of came to the realization I don't think I mean, and I question is it possible not to think like this? Is it possible not to think like this? And I just don't think that it is. Knowing what I know and the way I experience the world, it just doesn't make sense to me. Um, to think that I wasn't the only space alien. If I try to think that I'm a human, it doesn't work. I questioned, what if it's not real? What if it's not real at all? What if I'm just a human? But I just cannot think like that. I just can't, knowing what I know, I just can't think like that. And the way I experience the world, um, my own perception of reality, you know, everything that all of it points to myself being an alien, and I couldn't find another answer. I couldn't think, oh, it's not real, because if I try to think it's not real, then I start freaking out, and I just and it just doesn't make sense to me. The words "I'm the only space alien," um, I guess those are my last words. I guess if this is going to be my last video, I mean, I might make more, but I mean, look at me. I don't even think I look like a human, to be honest. When I look in the mirror, I don't see someone who's human. Maybe part of the reason for that is my own perception. Um, so let's suppose that it is real and that I'm not a human. I mean, I thought I was Laney Wakura, like from Serial Experiments Lane, in real life. I also have reasons to believe this. Um, my entire perception is very similar to what it would. It's exactly what Lane would be if I was Laney Wakura. Um, I never thought that I was above humans. I always thought I was. I mean, I like to treat all people as equals, and I was calling humans people. But if I'm not human, would I be a person? It's something I thought about because the humans call me a person, but I'm sort of not a person in this regard. But I'm not above anyone. I'm just isolated from everyone else. Um, that's how I'd word it. I just cannot look in the mirror and see myself as someone who is a human. I can't do it. When I look in the mirror, I do not see a human. I see a space alien when I look in the mirror. Now, you could call it schizophrenia, but last I checked, Lenny Wakura was schizophrenic. Um, at least that's what I think, since I'm Lenny Wakura. I mean, I have my own regard of this television series and the video game and all the lore. I've looked into it in depth, but also there was one thing I was going to talk about. One of the things that I keep talking about things that I know. So I'll talk about one thing that I know that, as far as I know, due to my presence, Drake produced the album for All the Dogs. So that's all I'm gonna state regarding that. And the album was released on my birthday, October 6th. Um, it was 1998. I was. The thing is that that's not the legal date on my like that's not my legal birth date, but that's the date that I think I was born. I also talked about this on a video that I said my whole life was a lie. Except it wasn't a lie. It was it must have been sort of, it's not a lie though. It's like what I called misconceived anxiety. I had spoken about it on the other video. And if I try to think that this isn't real and that it doesn't make sense, it doesn't make sense to me. Cause like, how is it even possible? I think about all the things that I think about as if, and it's not like I've crafted my own world. It's like I'm living inside the world, and I'm just like how is that possible? Like I don't think it's just some very complicated, extremely accurate world that I produced in my mind. It's like thinking things that literally make sense to me and seeing things that other people don't see. I don't know how that's possible. So, I don't know. I just thought I would talk about this, but this might be my last video. So I think if anyone out there is really looking at this, I want them to know, well, I'm a Lainon for one, but I think I'm Laini Wakua. Also, why did I start out of nowhere? Also, regarding like there's like lots of things I've experienced, lots of things I've experienced, but like out of nowhere, I just started speaking this language, and I understand the language, and it is like just like all like I made like a podcast called the Nor podcast. I called the language Nor, and if you listen to that podcast, you can listen to what the language sounds like. Why is that all of a sudden I started speaking this language? I don't know. But it's like a coherent, real language, and that's very strange. And then so that's like, I don't know. But then it's also like, over the course of time, I felt my body shrinking. I think my whole body shrunk. It also feminized. The thing is that I use the word feminized, but I think I'm a male. So I don't like to use the word trans male. I'd rather just say male because those are still men. Why do I suffer aphantasia? Aphantasia, well, in the SDL game, they talk about memory loss. And the thing is, I suffer of aphantasia. So this is essentially when you have no visual memory, so you can't remember anything visual. Essentially, I only think with words. Um, I experience emotions, but when I experience emotions, it's like throughout my entire body, and it's like also through my brain, but throughout like I guess that also happens to humans, but I don't think it's like how it is for me. Like a human who feels like fear might feel something in their body, but for me, it's like everything I see looks like fucking fear. When I feel fear, everything I see looks like fear. My whole body feels like fear. I mean, that's a very strange way to experience emotions. Then I'm constantly thinking about things that Lane might think about. Like, I had to question if I even had expressions. I mean, I must have expressions, right? I had to question, do I have expressions? I mean, I could do an expression right now. Like, I thought I had expressions, but that's only a sentence. The other is just the movement of my face. Or I had to question if, questioning, I must be human. I mean, when I looked at Serial Experiments Lane, I thought, Lady Wakura in the show was a human. I thought Lady Wakura was a human. But I can't see myself like that. I can't see myself as if I was a human. I just can't. I don't know why. I see myself as a space alien. I've talked about solipsism. I've talked about solipsism. Solipsism is like not to state that others aren't conscious, just to state that I was like sort of a center, or the center, more accurately. And why is it like something I had talked about before is regarding my schizophrenia. Also not to mention that I hallucinate things that I see on computers. So if I see something on a computer, I'll hallucinate it. But it's like, if it's like, let's say for example, it's like I saw like a photo, and I was hallucinating photos of Serial Experiments Lane Iwakura. I was hallucinating for like one night. I just was rapidly hallucinating photos of Lane Iwakura. So I hallucinate things I see on computers, and suppose there was like a background behind the character that I saw, I would only see the character. I wouldn't see the background. How is that possible that my brain can do that? If it's a human brain, I'm seeing things that I've seen on computers. And how come when I look at computer screens, I see fucking like hallucinations on the computer screen? And how come when I look at computer screens, it like affects me? It sort of like calms me down almost. And how come when the moon goes out, this is very strange. Like every time the moon goes out, my schizophrenia becomes more like analog. And how come everywhere I look, I see these colorful, digital looking, like RGB looking calculations, I call them. So there's a tattoo on my face that says analog over digital. So that's how I thought, like, if I was, because my whole perception is essentially like I'm a sound. It's like I'm a sound. So I call myself the sound of nothing, because behind this sound is the void. The sound itself is analog over digital. Once the moon goes out, the digital calculations are shrouded by the analog perception. So make of this what you will. I think what I just said makes sense regarding this hypothetical schizophrenia that I'm literally experiencing. So I'll let you go. This might be my last video.